So we
right now?
have a client that flew in from out of town. I guess they're relocating. Shout out to the relocation series we have on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was Mason's idea. He gets credit for that.
THST.tv. You can go find any video on pretty much any little city or big city around the DFW Metroplex and what it's like to live there, what it's like to relocate there, and it's now my radio show.
Before you go to the question, because I cut you off a little bit, you can find that entire relocation series on our YouTube channel, which is tthst.tv. See what I did there?
Correct.
tthst.tv. So that whole series, Mason has encouraged me to expand that series. He gets a lot of the credit, but we've done short videos on many of the communities in and around DFW. If you're thinking about moving within the Metroplex, it's a great resource for you. It's also a really great resource for somebody outside the Metroplex considering moving in. We want to show people the glory of DFW when they make their move here. Now that's coming from someone that grew up in Houston. It used to pain me to say that. Now I'm proud to say it. But I will say go Rockets in the playoffs. Mason loves it when I say that. Back to you. Finish the question, sir.
Welcome to the best city, best Metroplex in Texas. And yeah, so they're asking, they flew in, and they're asking, they want to see a bunch of houses before they have to leave. How do they go about that with our team?
Yeah, so actually, I saw that question too, and they wanted to see a bunch of houses, but I think they wanted to have one picked out before they left town.
Right. They're trying to get it done quickly so they don't have to come back.
So it's funny because this is a question coming into the show from a client that we're already actively working with, which is fun. And they have an answer from our agent already, but we wanted to go ahead and put the question on the air because it's a really good question. We get a lot of folks that come from out of town, and they're kind of here doing a fact-finding trip, and sometimes they make the final decision, and now instead of making multiple trips back, we'd like to expedite the process of finding a home. Now, I will tell you this is not ideal, but moving from another city or another state or maybe another country, there's not a whole lot of other options here. I mean, if you have the luxury of flying in and out of town, multiple times, that's great. But a lot of time, because you're leaving town, you do need to act quickly while a home is still on the market, while you can still figure some things out while you're local on the ground, that kind of deal. So that being said, I would still encourage someone to go through our typical process, but on warp speed, or as they say in Spaceballs, ludicrous speed. Shout out to anyone who likes Spaceballs. It's a great film, classic film, you might say. But anyway, I would sit down with an agent. So if you're working with our team, that's wonderful. I'm sure you've already done that. But if someone's thinking about this before they do that, I would schedule very early when they get to town to sit down with one of our buyer specialists, have about a 60 to 90 minute strategy session where we can ask a lot of questions and understand their needs, their timing, their desires, their non-negotiables, their budget, their family situation, their core motivation, and then hit the streets pretty quickly, get them connected with a great lender ideally before they get here. So those things can be knocked out. Worst case, get them connected, right away while we're out hunting properties, getting the ducks in a row on a pre-approval letter. We would connect them with Patrick Glaros because they offer a guarantee on their pre-approval letters, which is really great and helps sellers choose our offers. But then we would start shopping houses. We'd probably do some learning on the fly just because of the expedited process. And it's very doable. We actually do this a lot where someone comes into town for one weekend. It's kind of an aggressive weekend. But not only do they find a home and ideally get that under contract, they learn about their commute, where churches and schools and hospitals and airports, and their kind of orientation to the community. We usually connect them with a couple of great restaurants, sit down and have a couple of good meals with them as well. And it can be a lot of fun. It is intense and it can be a little overwhelming. But what we're often doing is we're either FaceTiming or having like a webinar, Zoom, Google Chat kind of deal where we can put a face with the name and share a screen and really interact and set up some of the expectations before they actually get to town. So if you happen to be hearing this from out of town, this signal carries a long way, or you're hearing this or watching the video of this later, that's how we would do it. We try to get you as much of that expectation prepared before you got here, hit the ground running, have a strategy session, and get you connected with a great lender, inspector, and all those things. Get out shopping. Break the day up so you can debrief and mentally clear out the system before we overwhelm you with too many properties. And it's absolutely doable to have a home under contract before you leave town. So it actually can be a lot of fun to do it that way, but it is absolutely intense and really deserves some forethought before that person gets to town. But I want to talk to you real quick about Eddie McBroom at Elite Appliance. My entire